right. Hey, welcome to talk show number 28. Today is March 5th, 2006. We've got a great show for you today. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host to you. As soon as I introduce myself, this is Spider Bite of Siege Perilous. Go ahead, Vice. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick as my co-host here.
All right. Hello, everybody, and it's great having you here with us this afternoon. We've got a lot of things to talk about. As you very well may know, we just had, if I'm not mistaken, we just had a UO Town Hall meeting over in Redwood City, California this weekend, or should I say last Thursday. And so we're going to be talking about that a little bit, and we got some guests here with us today who are from Town Hall who are going to be explaining to us as to what kind of things went on there and maybe tell us a little bit about it. So with that said, go back, I'm, of course, from Chesapeake and everything, and my name's Viceroy, and so I'll turn it back over to you, Spider.
Thanks, Vice. This is great. Going to be a great show. This is your opportunity as a listeners. Share your questions, your comments, your opinions with those of us here on the panel every week. And just want to remind you, the talk show that everybody is so used to listening to on Saturdays is now today on Sundays. Going forward, the Guild interviews, like we had yesterday, will be on Saturdays at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's go ahead and get started by introducing everybody on the panel. We'll go down the list here. I'll call you guys out. Let's go ahead and start with Deadeye.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, radio listeners out there. This is DJ Deadeye. And tell you what, I'm glad to be here. Glad y'all are here, and I'm looking forward to a really, really groovy talk show.
Hi. Thanks, Deadeye. Amber, you're a new addition, not only to UO Radio, but also to as a listener, but also to Siege and to UO in general, which is quite a step, along with your husband Sandman. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us, just tell us a little bit, quick bit about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I just started playing UO. I also just started playing any online gaming, so it's been quite a learning experience. Sandman's actually been playing for about 8 years, but new to Siege. He just started about 2 months ago. And Amber's still learning the language, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to contribute today, but I got a little bit of it.
Hey, 8 years he's been playing, and you guys are still married. That's great. Good to hear. Dor, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
This is Dor of Sonoma and Siege.
And then our own UO Radio correspondent that was there. Go ahead and introduce yourself as well. Tell us what charge you're from, etc.
Well, this is Autumno. I'm from Great Lakes. Been playing about 4 years. Been around a while. Like to make money. You know how it goes. But it was very fun to go up there. Had a ball, especially with Dor. She was there as well. We'd like to go another one.
Good to hear you. And finally, Joe Pam, our own news manager here on UO Radio. Go ahead and introduce yourself as well, Joe Pam.
Everyone can hear me, right? I hope. I'm Joe Pam. I'm the news manager here. I play on many shards, mainly primarily Jackenfeld and Lake Superior. And if you have a knack, join the news team.
Ooh, nice little plug. Just to give you guys, the listeners out there, a little idea of how the show is going to work today. It's a little different than normal. Normally, Vice and I will come up with a number of topics, and we just kind of throw it out there for everybody to discuss. Like he mentioned earlier, the town hall meeting or the meetup went on over in Redwood City, and we are, of course, it's been all the chatter on the forums. And it has been my desire to, I want to hear what actually happened there instead of all this hearsay that's going on. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit I'm guilty of reacting from some of the stuff I heard. And before it was ever published, and then when they finally did post something on Stratix, it was nothing but cliff notes and blanket statements about everything that happened. So what I was interested in hearing about was what was actually talked about, what was actually said, versus what people are throwing around out there on the forums. So Amber and her husband Sandman were both there. Dor was there. And Autumno was also live there. So, with today's show, what we're hoping to do is break down some of these rumors that are flying about. And, maybe find out what it was actually discussed, what the mood was like. Some people come up and say, oh, man, I was so upset about hearing about this and stuff like that, or this person acted like that. We want to hear the bottom line. And with that, before we get started with the first question, let me go ahead and bring Town Drunk in here. Oh, there he comes. Welcome, TD. Town Drunk's our own DJ. Everybody else here is just a comment. Dor was, like I said, Dor was there. So we have a good panel going here today. Town Drunk, real quick, introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right into the show.
Yeah, what you said. I'm Town Drunk.
What shard you play, Town?
Drakenfels. Yeah, I play on Drakenfels, so not too many people that hear. Jo Pam, I think, plays on Drakenfels sometimes, but I don't think I've run into her.
On the contrary, she says you stalk her all the time. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so let's go on. Our correspondent gave us a number of stuff that he reported almost immediately afterwards. I mean, when I say immediately, it was like before anybody else was able to post dribble on the UO Hall. And the very first thing that came up, and which was the hot topic since we've beaten that horse to death over Published 40, was about the magic resisting the arms lore and going away or being changed. You guys who were there, what did you get out of that? What actually was the discussion about? Did they get into any details about it? Were they talking about, did they give, or what? Go ahead and let us know. Go ahead, Amber, you're first.
Well, again, I'm not quite sure if I'm, speaking correctly here, but this is my understanding. They're going to put a caps on the individual armor pieces so that they will only go to a certain level, and there'll be more emphasis on the skill development. That doesn't mean that the suits won't have value. It just means that there will be a little more emphasis, less emphasis on the total value of the suit and some value on the skill level of the character.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, contrary to what the other people were saying out there, they're not getting rid of both skills. They're dropping the idea of arms lores, or from what it was in the PvP document that Mr. Tack wrote up originally. Is that what I'm getting? Is that what you're getting at?
Absolutely. That
Okay.
He wanted to make it really clear that your armor would still have value. Your valuable armor will have value. It's just that they're trying to level the playing field a little more, especially for newcomers, because some of the old-timers, the newcomers come in and they're just discouraged. They, skill level means nothing if you have, if you're fighting somebody that I guess, and again, I don't know what all this means, but 70% resistance all the way across the board with your armor. It takes a new person a while to get to, that kind of level of armor.
Okay, that's good to know. That makes a big difference. Vice, you were next. Go ahead.
Sure. Let me just go ahead and just blow everything out of the water for you guys, because I actually got some notes from a developer who was actually at the town hall, who would probably have a lot better idea as to what took place and what was discussed. And so here's some of the notes in which I got, and it's just going to totally blow things out of the water without any guessing to it or whatever else. Basically, in the notes that I got here and everything from the developer, it said Mr. Tax will be posting more information either tomorrow or Monday for the combat changes coming in Published 40, and the diminishing returns on healing are gone, as well as the arms lore requirement. So, the arms lore requirement on, that they was thinking about is no longer there. Diminishing returns on healing are now gone. So, for all you people that are looking for details on that, I guess some of you guys are cheering, some of you guys are like, oh no, what happened? But anyways, point number 2 here is our goal is to make items matter less in combat and more about skill. So that's something else they're also working on. The third point which they have here is crafting is being addressed after combat. The fourth point which they raise up here is a rideable polar bear.
If I could, just for a second, I apologize. I wanted to go ahead and introduce Darth, who was also at the meeting, who I invited today, and has just shown up. And I'll let you go ahead real quick. As soon as he goes ahead and really quick introduces himself, just tell us about yourself, Darth, and what shard you play, etc. We'll get right back to Vice.
I play Siege Perilous, and I've been playing the game for 8 years, and PvP is my main focus on the game, and that's about it.
Yay, Darth!
Thanks, Darth. I appreciate that, and welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it today. Vice, go ahead and finish what you were saying. For you just joining or any of the listeners, I interrupted Vice in the middle of giving us some notes he got from a developer directly as to what was going on versus what the chatter is on the boards. So go ahead, Vice. And again, I apologize for interrupting you.
Yeah, bad boy. No, I do believe this is like the biggest talk show panel we've ever had, by the way. Notice we got 10 people here. So we got quite a bit of people here just for all you guys out there listening in and everything. But let me get back to the notes now. The fourth point which they brought up and everything in the notes is about what they discussed and, told players and everything. A rideable polar bear is a strong possibility for vet rewards, but we're not 100% sure we can get the art working in 2D and 3D. So there's a little problem with the whole 2D and 3D of, getting, the polar bears in there, ethereal polar bears. So no promises on that, but it's something we might be doing in the past, this past week or two. So, they're going to be playing around with it a little bit more this next week or two, and hopefully we might hear more about it. Hopefully they'll figure out a solution to it. Also, point number 5, Dark Scribe plays UO regularly and loves the game. So, for all you people that have been wondering whether or not Dark Scribe, the producer of Ultima Online, plays the game or not, he does. And he absolutely loves the game by the sounds of it, by the little side notes made here. And let's see, number 6, we're making the changes to crafting and combat so that we will have a solid foundation on which to grow Ultima Online. So that's something they're looking at. And point number 7, all you people out there who are wondering about the event moderator program, they are going to be coming back sometime in April, sometime. So if you really like the event moderator program, be looking forward to April, because that's probably when they'll be coming around. Point number 8, community events and EM events are separate things. Though they may work together sometime in the future, we're still working out the details. Point number 9, Cerrado beat the winner of the PvP tournament and has upheld the honor of the UO team. So, it's something you guys can talk about. I'm sure Utomo can describe that a little bit for us later on. Number 10, we don't have the firm plans to update the webpage layout or look of it, but they're actively working on getting the ball rolling on that front. So if you're wondering if that webpage is ever going to see any changes, yeah, apparently they got that on their mind at some point later on down the road. But anyways, so, that's some of the things we can probably talk about here. So, I'll turn it back over to Spidey Bite.
Thanks, Vice. The PvP tournament was a good thing. I think Dor had her light lit up. Did you still have something you wanted to say, Dor? I know we put you off for a little bit longer than normally we do, but like Vice said, we have a larger panel than usual as well.
No, actually, I'm having problems right now. I'm getting some kind of talking going on in the background, a delayed Vice thing or something.
Ooh, that's the Viceroy virus. I heard about that.
Dor, turn your Winamp off. If you were listening before you entered the show, then you're hearing it from both ends.
Ooh, nice way to put it, Deadeye. Joe Pam, go ahead in the meantime.
I don't know about anyone else here, but when you and Vice said it, can you explain to me or someone else that might not know what is meant by the diminishing returns of the healing or armor or whatever it was you were saying?
I would jump right in and try to explain that because I'm a know-it-all, even though I know absolutely nothing. But as Vice said, those two things are both being put to the shed anyways. If anybody who's there knows anything or heard differently, definitely speak up. Dora, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that it's moot now because the entire prospect was shelved. Thank God.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Anybody else on the panel? What do you feel about that being shelved? I mean, was anybody actually looking forward to those two aspects? I know. I mean, it raised just about a huge rebellion. Not that that's anything less than a daily occurrence on UO Hall, anyways. But does anybody actually not like the fact that it got shelved? Or is everybody here pretty much agreed that, thank goodness, terrible idea. Thank goodness for, admitting it and putting it away.
I'll step in here. I'll add my 2 cents in. What bothers me most about what they've been doing with the PvP changes is the fact that they haven't addressed some of the issues that are currently in game, such as how the wand usage is being dealt with, how stealth and hiding deal with PvP, house fighting, some of those aspects of PvP, which are very important and used quite a lot. So they put in all these wonderful, grandiose systems that are unproven, untried, and frankly a little bit wild in terms of how they would be implemented. And knowing the past, the past experiences I've had in the game when they've tried something so ambitious, is that it's fraught full of problems. Now, I think the diminishing returns is an interesting idea, and if it was successfully implemented, might have been a nice change to PvP. But my take on the whole thing is that the fact is that it would have been a disaster in making in terms of trying to get it implemented, balanced, all the exploits taken care of, et cetera, et cetera. So, am I happy that it's gone? Probably, because I think it was, just a system that wasn't needed to fix PvP. I don't think PvP is all that busted if you take care of some of the outlaying issues in PvP. So, yeah, I'm happy it's gone.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and I'm glad we have you in here, Darth, because I know firsthand, having played with Darth in game, usually on the end of his sword, that he is pretty good at what he does in game, and that's killing people. So it's good to have that aspect and that opinion. I too am glad. I didn't want to have to pick up another skill, to be honest. As far as healing goes, I didn't understand how the diminishing returns were going to work, to be honest, but I'm glad they're both shelved. It just seemed like it was complicating issues more than they needed to be. And it was more Band-Aids is the way I took it on that sort of thing. Let's look over the list that Vice got from the developers here. This has been something people have been screaming about for ages, and I don't understand why just now it's becoming a revelation and being talked about at a meetup. But our goal is to make items matter less in combat and more skill. What's everybody's thoughts on that? I mean, we've got a pretty diverse crowd today. Many of us are from Siege. There are several of us from Production Charge as well, and then there are people like me and Dora who play both Production and Siege, where items, you go out in a suit on Siege that's fully worked up, and if you're like me and you suck, you're going to lose it within 10 minutes. If you're on a Production Charge, you just spend a bunch of insurance money and just go out and farm the next day. So what does everybody feel? How does everybody feel about making it less item dependent? Town Drunk, go ahead.
If you want to make the game less item dependent, get rid of insurance. It's plain, it's very simple, and it works. And if you like if you must have insurance, have it in Trammell. If that's too big of a problem, so what? Get rid of it in Trammell. Trammell is insurance. You know what I mean? So that gets rid of item dependency. It fixes a lot of have and have not problems in Felucca for PvP. You know, people that can't afford. You know, I always see on Stratix people. You know, they bitch and moan about I don't have all this money I can't buy stuff on eBay. Blah blah blah. You know, okay, fine. Get rid of insurance. That way, everybody's equal. Everybody has the same crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you there. You know, again, like on Siege, item insurance isn't an issue for us. And people like Dor, for example, who, man, I have to applaud her 100 times a day, even though she plays a production shard, Sonoma. She sticks to Fel, and she does not insure a single item. On Siege, we don't have the choice, and I'm glad we don't, because I'd be tempted a few times to insure a couple of items, and I'm glad I don't have that option. I believe Viceroy, go ahead, Viceroy.
Yes, I would like to, kind of touch on what Sound Drunk we just talked about there and everything about item insurance. And, what used to be back in the old days, with vanquishing weapons and everything else, you didn't see people running around with high-end weapons like you do now. Because back then you could easily lose your high-end weapons, in a heartbeat. If you got ganked or whatever, you would lose your vanquishing weapon or whatever. But with the insurance and everything, you always see everybody running around with high-end weapons all the time. That was the difference between then and now. And I just quickly want to point that out there to everybody out there who may not be familiar with how things were in the old day and how they are now. So, anyhow.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. I think, Deadeye, you were next. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to follow up on what Town Duck had to say about the thing about item insurance. I'm going to tell you something. I couldn't agree more with the guy. I'm telling you, because item insurance has killed so many good markets for crafters in the game. Everything. There's nothing to sell people if nobody ever loses anything. And the minute that happened, well, then the crafting business went completely to hell. And that's why if things wouldn't be so item based as far as using artifacts and high-powered things and everything. If it was going to be like the old days where you had something that was really good, you were really picky about when you brought it out and used it, I guarantee you didn't just carry it around all the time because you could lose it,
I agree 100% with you, Deadeye. Insurance was absolutely the downfall and made everybody greedy. And it killed the crafters. Most of my best friends in the game on either shard are crafters, and it's not from a point where they supply me constantly with whatever I need. I pay and I provide the materials to make me my 5 or 6 suits of armor I need, unless Darth comes around and I need about 6 or 7 more. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead, Amber. You were next.
Well, since Sandman's speaker is out, or actually his microphone, I'm going to be speaking for both him and myself. From Amber's perspective, she's still trying to remember to wear her shoes and her armor to begin with, so I don't know that affects her too much at the moment. But as far as Sandman goes, he thinks the insurance needs to be higher.
Yeah, I can see that. But you know what? There are guilds out there that have billions in gold, and I'm going to say that literally. I really do think between bank boxes across certain shards, there are guilds that have billions of gold in their whenever they need it. I don't know if Darth can probably shed some light on this, but some of the PK guilds out there have. It's nothing to toss out $20 million for a nice artifact or a weapon to use. For people like myself who are in a smaller guild with 2 or 3, maybe 5 people, raising 100K means we got to gather checks together. But making the insurance higher, I don't think that's going to help in the long run. I think getting rid of it altogether, nuke it. Go ahead, Darth. You were next.
What's sort of interesting about that is that I got a hold of the producer and Mr. Tack before the meeting started, and I talked to them about that exact same thing, about getting rid of insurance. They told me that they thought that would be too drastic of a change and would cause such a heartache on the shards that they sort of nixed the idea before it started. I was disappointed with that answer, needless to say, because I believe when you look at Siege, you can take a look at how not having insurance really does make PvP a better system, and it really does. Another issue about this whole thing about making things less item dependent, and the main goal of this is to allow newer players to be able to compete. I mean, you need new blood coming into your shards in order for the shard to grow. And with the slow decline of people leaving just over attrition and just lack of interest and, just I need to go to something new, you need new blood coming in. And with guilds having billions is hurting the game, and making the game so item dependent makes a new player just go, what am I doing here? And I do feel that frustration. Then again, in the meeting there was an interesting situation in which a player was adamant, going, my gosh, my suit and he rattled off all these properties. He says it's going to be totally useless with the points that he has to allocate, because he's got so much stuff in there. And he says very few of his items are already quality. I mean, already tagged. He says, but it's still a great suit, and with the proficiencies points that you have to add to the suit, he was very upset. And I could see that with taking out insurance, this player would have gone livid. So I believe there's a lot of players out there that would have just went totally nutso in terms of trying to get rid of insurance. So I do see where the developers were coming from. The fact that getting rid of insurance would have been a true upset in the game. Along with that player actually left the meeting very early, and Wilkie was trying to find the player to try to calm some of his fears and disappointments. And he actually asked me, where is this player? And we both looked around, and he left. He just left the place. So there is a problem going on here, and the problem is that we need new players, and we need to make the game less item dependent, where you need millions and millions and millions of stuff to be able to compete in PvP, because I always believed that PvP was UO's strongest point, along with its incredible depth of things to do. But PvP made the game fun. And with that, I'll quit talking, because I love to talk.
You and I alike. I know I agree with you on several points, and obviously by all the red lights we have here, so does everybody else. Especially the point that I think because the Feluca facets are so low in population right now, if they pulled in item insurance, I really don't think it would hurt too many people as long as they left it alive on the trammel shards, or the trammel facets. I truly believe that. I think we might have a few PvPers that might leave, but most are going to adapt. Most hardcore PvPers, in my opinion, have been around long enough beyond insurance. And the ones who only came after insurance, well, basically you just call that spoiled, and you just took the toy away from the kid. That's just my personal opinion. Let me go ahead and Atumno, I know you've been waiting a while. Go ahead.
Actually, I think Town Drunk was next.
Okay, go ahead, TD. I'm sorry.
I think Vice was before me.
Somebody speak.
Well, hell, I'll go. The way I look at it, y'all, and everything, it's kind of like Pandora's box. Once you open it up, you cannot put it back in. And that's why I kind of cringed on the idea of item insurance in the beginning. That's, and also you got to look at it from the perspective of what kind of effects is it having on the economy. Now, we have all these, little bothersome problems that are continually dragging down the quality of the game over time. And I feel like item insurance is one of those things, and then item properties. I feel like those are really some of the main aspects of the game that are really dragging down the game. The overall quality of the game. That's why, I personally feel like we need to go back to something like a pre-UOR day. And, that's no secret to anybody here. I am a very avid supporter of a pre-UOR shard. And it's for the very reasons, because you got people over here who are very adamant, about their items and everything else. Yet at the same time, you cannot tell these people, well, you're going to take away item insurance, or you're going to nerf their items or put a cap on it, as Mr. Tact alluded to, because you're going to upset all these players. So, I mean, in one form or fashion or another, you're going to upset somebody. So why not go to something that really a lot of people were pretty much content with? I mean, it's nothing that says everybody's got to go play this. It's optional. I think the whole way they went about Trammel and a bunch of other things could have been really avoided in the long run. But anyways, that's my little rant.
Thanks, Vice. Okay, Town Drunk, go ahead.
All right, I'll try to be concise, but look, I'm one of the people that I started playing UO just before Publish 19, a few weeks before Publish 19. So I wasn't around in the old days, okay? When I started playing, there was item insurance. Now, let me explain something for those of you who have been in the game for a very long time. It is difficult for someone to start now, especially now. Yeah, I can go start in Trammel, and I can be killing dragons in no time, especially if I've got someone to show me the ropes. But for PvP purposes, it's going to take me a serious time involved in this game, and unless I've got some sugar daddy that's willing to, set me up. It's going to take me some serious time to put together the equipment necessary to even hope to have a chance to get away. Not to win, but to survive. Okay? That's wrong. That's just wrong. And item insurance is a huge part of that, I'm convinced. What I said before about it reducing the gap between the haves and the have-nots. I'm serious about that. Go into Feluca today and look at the people who are winning at PvP. Their entire character is covered with artifacts or high-end loot or high-end crafted goods, barbed runic kit type stuff. It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. Crafters shouldn't have to rely on one or two bod rewards just so they can make a living. They should be able to make decent stuff for everyone so that everyone can go to Feluca and compete and have fun. I mean, I've seen people. I've been a guild master in the past. I've been in guilds, in the past, and PvP becomes not fun for a lot of people. You notice how angry people get because, the insurance bug and I lost my Orny it's insane. It's insane. And I want to remind people, if any of you have ever known a heroin addict, this is what insurance is to us. It's our heroin. And it's going to seem really drastic to take it away. But you got to do the right thing. And this is the right thing, I am convinced. And this is not coming from some guy who, played 8 years, blah, blah, blah. No offense, you guys. But seriously, this is, if you take an objective look at what's going on in Feluca, item insurance solves a lot of problems. Hey, you don't have to take it out of Trammel. If you want to sit in Trammel with insured stuff all day long, fine. So what? Who cares? Let them. You know? They don't affect anything in Feluca. Let your item remain insured, but it just doesn't work in Feluca. I don't think that would be difficult to accomplish at all. And if you really sit down and look at all of the problems we've had in the past with PvP, with faster casting and swing speed and all this other garbage, would insurance have fixed most, if not all, of these problems?
Excellent points, and I agree with you 100% on all of them, especially that's why I go down to my greedy or my needy opinions on how that stuff goes. In my opinion, and I'm biased, based on where I play and where Darth plays and where Amber will eventually understand what we're talking about. It makes a huge difference, and in my opinion, the ideal newbie quests that they put you on, or tours, or whatever they want to call it, I almost feel like they should be forced to go to Siege for like a week before they're allowed to go over to the production shards, instead of vice versa, where it's 40 hours or renouncing your new status, or your new player status, rather. So you can get a feel and go, hey, you know what? It's not a bad thing to run out and lose everything. And every time I log into Stratix and I take a look at the UO haul, I just chuckle to myself, because these people are complaining like this, yet about not, it's all item-based, it's all this, it's all that, yet they won't even come over and create a character on Siege just to see. And I'm not promoting Siege, I'm just saying, using it as an example. And, you know what? It's nothing to blow through a suit of armor. I don't even look at the properties on my armor anymore. I just know I have 40 suits set up. I go and I farm the armor all week long, or farm the leather. A crafter, believe it or not, puts these suits together for me, arranges them into separate bags, arms, legs, the gorget, etc. I throw something on, go back out, get back in the action, come back. It's like the old days. Now, of course, you're right. There's stuff that is still blessed, and there's a little bit of drip down from the production shards into Siege, so it's not perfect, but yet people complain. Oh my goodness, no, get rid of insurance, and I agree with them, but they won't leave. You're right, it's a crack habit is what it is. It's a crack habit. Atumno, I'm sorry for putting you guys off for so long. Like Vice said, we do have a very large panel today compared to usual, so go ahead.
Oh, no worries. I was thinking about the crafters you guys were talking about. Have it where there is insurance, but have it where if it's really expensive at first, and the more you kill, if you kill another player, I know it's kind of a weird answer or question, but have it, where it lowers your insurance over time within a week's pace. It would make the crafters more important in the game. And, I used to sell massive amounts of iron armor and weapons, especially when the runic hammers first came out. Your weapon would be kick-ass. Archery, swords, whatever. But have it where each weapon or each armor would be its own armor from the crafters. But I don't know. I'm just thinking about the what is it? The more you kill, the lower your insurance would be.
And that's a good point. I'm still voting on Town Drunk's opinion of just blow it out of the water altogether. Pull the Band-Aid off is what I call it. Pull it off quick. Get the pain over with. You're going to have about a week or 2 weeks of crying and moaning, and eventually people will adapt. That's just my opinion, though. One thing that really gets me, though, is we need to give some love to the crafters. I mean, we really do. Like I said, myself, I spend a lot of money on crafters, on my characters, and when I go shopping at the vendors, though, the player-run vendors, it depresses me because I'm finding myself going through jewelry and weapons and stuff like that. And the weapons, I'm looking at the mods on them. I'm looking at the bonuses. I want to go back to where I want to go to way back in the day, and Dora will remember this, when Marky Dragon had vendors set up on every shard, and on Sonoma, I could go out and buy him out of all of his poisoned katanas back then, hit all of his GM armor, his exceptional leather, and that was the start of my day. Took it back to my house, put it away, got ready to go out and go have some fun. Anyways, Amber, go ahead.
Well, one of the things I can offer to the panel is that I'm a new player, and I've been there less than 2 weeks. And I hear a lot of talk about bringing new blood into the game and attracting new players, and I think Town Drunk makes a really good point. A new player oftentimes has absolutely no chance up against seasoned veterans. And insurance, in that case, I know in our case, we've lost some really expensive stuff, and for us, eBay is our insurance on Siege. And I don't recommend a new player start out on Siege, but the idea of having, different shards, that some are insured and some aren't, if somebody doesn't want to play without insurance, that's their thing. That's what makes them happy, and the game is supposed to be about, having fun. And for those of, of us that are a little more willing to take risk, then we can, play on the shard without the insurance. Because I know in Amber's case, if she didn't have her sugar daddy, she still wouldn't be in Siege.
I gotta agree with you there. When I first started on Siege myself, I was taken care of rather well by many, many, many players over there. To the point where, like yourself, who's joined the new guild, I didn't have to join it. I had so many people that were so willing to be generous with me, and I was spoiled when I first started. And in hindsight, I probably should have just refused all that assistance. Probably wouldn't be so full of myself over there, even though I can't hold my own as it is. But in any case, Darth, go ahead.
I'll let somebody else go right now. I got a mouthful of food.
Cool. Joe Pam.
Okay, now I know what's up, hey. Why, instead of possibly, okay, let me try that again. Granted, you could take away the insurance, but let's say it will never get removed out of the game. Why couldn't there be a cap on how much insurance you can, or on the amount of items you can insure? Say have like a cap of like 4 items per character or 3 items per character. And I believe it was Town Drunk Vice, someone was saying earlier about the crafters and going back to weapon or vendors to buy stuff. Insurance basically threw your crafting whole thing out the window. You can't go to a vendor anymore and, pick up a leather suit barbed from a vendor anymore. You're going to sit there and sort through jewelry and items and sit there and choose, this piece of weapon to go with this because it has the best mods, and I don't know.
No, that's a good point. Matter of fact, no, that's an excellent point. And I agree 100%. And that's what I think everybody wants a pre-Ren shard for. Granted, I think the people who are screaming for a pre-Renaissance shard maybe never have experienced it, and are saying basically what they want is a pre-AOS shard, which is what I think Dor would be looking for, because I know her and I are not happy with the AOS. We share very similar opinions as far as that goes. Darth, were you able to chew and swallow that?
I'm sorry. Yes. Just want to add a little bit to that. That's exactly what I try to suggest to Mr. Tack and the producer, Death Scribe, or whatever his name is. I can't really remember off the top of my head right now. But that's exactly what I said. Maybe start it off with allowing insurance on 4 items, then go down to 3, then go down to 2, and then find out where the balance is. Don't make these I've never understood this game in terms of making these radical changes where you just go hog wild and you make a skill like spell weaving go from some super uber skill to just being nerfed to hell. You know, they have a knee-jerk reaction to some of these aspects. And I do want to say that I was a very strong proponent of getting personal bless deeds on Siege, even though every one of my PvP characters had personal bless deeds. I believe the health of the shard is very necessary to make sure that people are equal on equal footing. If you got such an unequal balance of new players coming in with old veterans, the game it just gets stale. You get a lot of hard feelings from a lot of people. You know that, oh my gosh, you know, this guy is always beating me up. He's being an asshole. Excuse my language. Oops, I'm sorry about that. And all that kind of stuff. And trust me, I've been on the receiving end of a lot of hate in the game. And one of the reasons is that I had personal bless deeds, and a lot of players I was playing against didn't. And I want to stress that I was a very big proponent of whatever. And now, the fact of getting rid of insurance altogether, I do not believe that's a good idea. Only for the fact that you have to make getting, your arty, or you're getting your one piece of good item be worth something. Otherwise, you basically nerf the heck out of artifacts. You nerf the heck out of the barbed runic kits, because nobody is going to. That's not true. Very few players are going to risk, the piece of jewelry that took them, 6 weeks to get, farming Doom, 7 hours at a time. So I do believe in some kind of insurance of one type, for one piece of blessed items. I do believe you need something like that. I got lots of other things too, but I'll relinquish my floor here.
Thanks, Darth. No, I agree with you on a lot of those points, especially on the fact that, as having been a new player on a shard that has no insurance, and over a year ago, and coming on and jumping into battle, with 50s in all skills and that sort of thing, it can be a little down-putting. I mean, you get a little. I don't even know what the...
We lose it? Well, it looks like we lost Spider-Bite, so I'll just pick up from here. But anyways, let's see. Some of the things he talked about and everything was, or some of the conversations here, I just have to pick up the pieces, was about the whole pre-AOS. I'll just pretty much take over until he gets back. But yeah, some things what I can understand personally is why can't somebody from the...
Oh, I apologize there.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know what happened there. I lost my internet connection all of a sudden. Bad timing. I'm going to have to go kick somebody's butt over there. Matter of fact, I'm going to use my insurance and go over there and kick their butts. No, that thought, I apologize for that interruption, especially if Viceroy was just getting into it. Just to finish off my thought real quick. It gets to the point where now once you have something you can carry, like you can carry a good weapon, you can go out, you can fight and die, but you can make them run. That was a thrill for me when I had a weapon that I could take out. I had a box full of very nice weapons for a very long time that I had never been able to use on Siege. And the fact that I was able to go out and do that. So, in ending, what I really liked was what Joe Pam was touching on, what Viceroy's touched on, what everybody's touched on. Make it a system. Perhaps it's a vet reward. Integrated into the 1, 2, 3, 4 year rewards, where you can actually you've got an option now to bless this many items. Now you can bless this many less items. As you get up in age on your account, you can bless fewer items. Who knows? I know there's got to be a happy in-between somewhere, and I know it has to do between Tram and Feluca. So with that said, go ahead, back to you, Vice. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just kind of jumped right back in, not knowing what was already said.
Not a problem. I was just going to say, how can the younger players like Joe Pam and everything get the message that insurance is actually hurting the game, and yet the older developers, the guys who are in their 30s and 20s, the late 20s and everything, why can they not get it? I mean, why can somebody who's 18 over here get it through their head? Yeah, insurance is ruining crafting and everything else, and yet somebody who's in their 30s or 40s can't get that. I don't for the life of me understand that. So, I mean, I think something needs to be done about that, whether it needs to be gradual or whatever else. And about the whole pre-AOS, me personally, I wouldn't want a pre-AOS. And the reason is because there was a balance between order and chaos when you had pre-UOR, not pre-AOS. When you had pre-AOS, you had travel. And that was the path in which we took to get to where we're at now. So basically, you're just repeating history then. But anyways, back to you, Spider.
Thanks, Vice. No, you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. The only thing with and we'll get into this, I think, is the pre-Ren shard, the pre-AOS shard. What date should it take place on? Where should we revert back to get that? In my opinion, you know what? You'll never, ever have a common ground where that concerns, because you're going to want people who want PvP balance of Pub 16, Pub 15, prior to that. But you're going to want people who like their houses. You're going to have people who like, the ethies. There's just never going to be a common ground, and EA knows that. That's why they will not put their foot down and say, yeah, we're working on this. They'll say it's being tossed on a table, but they're not going to do it. And I said that on UO Hall. And when I chirp it on UO Hall, it's either to not flame, but incite some rightful thinking, or to make people realize, quit talking like idiots. But that was my whole opinion on the pre-Ren shard. It will never happen. If it does, great. I'm all for it. But you got to keep in mind the stuff that people have collected over the years. And I'm not talking about the PvP stuff. There are people who like their Hearth of the Home fire and stuff like that. It decorates a house. It has nothing to do with PvP. They're not going to want to give it up, and it's going to keep the shard unpopulated. And if for those out there who think Siege is a low population, which I will strongly disagree with, wait till you see a pre-Ren shard when people have their choice of about 10 houses, and that's it. Anyways, Amber, I know you've been waiting a long time. Go ahead.
Atkins is Sandman. Since my mic's not working, I traded headsets with her here. But, when it comes to insurance, I think I've always hated it. As a thief, of course, and the production shards, it just never worked for me. You could steal like regs and stuff like that. But when it comes to insurance, it seems like you should be able to get like some kind of scroll or something maybe that will insure something for a certain amount of time. It's like a reward type thing, or something that you can find and you can actually, double click the little scroll and insure that item for either a certain amount of time or a certain amount of whatever. And once it runs out, then you got to get another one.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a very good point. Who was next here? I can't. Was it Darth or was it Town Drunk? It was one of you two. I think it was Darth. Go ahead, Darth.
Actually, it was Town Drunk.
Okay, good. I'm glad you called me on that. Go ahead, TD.
We're also polite here. Anyway, look, guys. You know how I feel about insurance. I, said pretty much what I was going to say, but I can't stress any form of insurance even introducing blessings and stuff like that. It's just, to me, from my perspective, all that does is open the door for more exploits. Just the idea of having anything to do with hanging on. We need to get out of this frame of mind, especially in Felucca. In Trammel, think what you want. It's the blue pill, man. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to believe. You know what I mean? But in Felucca, it's the red pill. Okay? The idea that you should be able to hang on to anything in Felucca should be gone. We should get rid of this idea. It's insane. I mean, everyone here, every single person here has said in some form or fashion that they don't like the insurance. Some people want to get rid of it altogether, and some people want to modify it to nerf it. But if we all agree that it's a bad thing, it is a bad thing. It's like the lesser of two evils. It's still evil. Anyway, that's it. That's all I'm going to say about insurance.
Money is the root of all evil, is the way I look at it, and that's all insurance is. It's spending money versus losing your item. Viceroy, go ahead. Darth, go ahead.
Actually, I think Viceroy was first too.
No, you were next. You had your light lit up. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I want to emphasize what Tom Drunk says. I honestly do believe that insurance has ruined PvP altogether. I'm still into blessing one thing, because you still need to make, getting something worth something. I mean, and I guess that's more of a siege problem versus a Felucca problem. But the problem is that you get rid of insurance, or you get rid of blessings altogether on siege. You really just close down every avenue for, every Doom. You may as well just forget it. Nobody would bother going in Doom anymore. And I'm not so sure that's good or bad, but honestly, I could probably live with it either way. I also want to say that Siege, I really do feel, is more healthy PvP-wise, just because of the fact it only allows you to insure or quote bless one item. I've always felt that Siege PvP was a whole lot more fun. I've seen what the other shards are in terms of PvP. I ran around. Well, I personally didn't run around, but I looked over the shoulder of a player who played FL and did the tour of the shards and saw what they do and how they deal with PvP running around the different shards. The techniques and suits that these guys built were insane. I mean, 100% physical resist, reflect damage stuff. I mean, that was nuts. Some of the stuff they did. That wasn't PvP. That was just, I have the better items, and I know how to use them, and I'm going to kill you. There was very little true, well, I'm not going to say that no skill was involved, but it was, the items determined whatever. Now I want to say maybe I'll try to make a segue into a different aspect of the game here, and that is the inflation, the item-based inflation that's been going on for a while. It's just nuts what's going on. I've felt that, they changed our bank weapons into 35% damage increase stuff with very few little attributes. If it had, I can't remember what it was, well, one of them gave you a hit chance increase of 2 to 4%. I mean, that's all they gave you, just 2 to 4%. Now you can find, hit chance increase, 20%, it seems like, or damage increase 50% items. It just kicks me in the gut to see how the game just inflates, and the inflation that's been going on is just insane. We got to fight harder and harder monsters. Yeah, what's wrong with dying every once in a while? I just never understood that. You just, pick up your stuff and you go on. And as for my being a PvPer, and I literally dry loot people because I do believe it's part of the game. You died, you lost your stuff. I want to encourage people to go to vendors. I want to encourage trade. And if you don't take things from people, or if things are insured, there's no trade. There's absolutely no trade that the game has in it. And I'm not too sure this new producer is all that against opening up a new shard. I saw a little glimmer of hope there, that actually, I saw a glint in his eyes that actually was interesting. However, until they start supporting Siege on a more regular basis, the idea of them starting another shard with another set of rules is ludicrous. Watch how they deal with Siege. See if they can support Siege a little bit better in terms of its different rule set, and then maybe the idea of a new shard set would actually be a realistic concept. But I'll give up the floor again. God, I love talking.
You and I both, man. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I don't think you should be allowed to join the Renaissance Shard or whatever they decide to do, if they ever decide to do it. And I'm in complete agreement with you. I don't think you see it happening at all, ever. Because most of these people spouting out who wanted, excluding our present guests, like I know Dora would go over and try it out, and, there are several people that I know who would wholeheartedly love it and embrace it, or who have even gone over to those quote-unquote other lands that are free and tried it, like myself and several other people, and many listeners I know. You know what? After a while, you go, man, I miss kind of some of the bells and whistles of this of the place. Can't we just tone down some of this other stuff? And that's the way I look at it. Like, if they put a pre-Renaissance shard up, or whatever published they decide to put it on, my thing is I'm sorry, you got to spend 90 days on Siege first, because you wanted to spout and cry about lack of risk, lack of imbalance, that sort of thing. No, go over to Siege. And again, this is not a plug. I'm just saying, that's my opinion, is that people who are crying about it are sitting over on the production shards with fully insured suits that are worth millions. I mean, 10, 20, 30, 50 million is what one guy sold his suit for on eBay. 50 million gold, whatever the dollar equivalent of that is. That's just ludicrous. And I'm using your words. Sorry, Darth. The next one I believe up was Dor. Go ahead, Dor.
Hello. Yes, I wanted to address that. I was the one who actually asked Dark Scribe about the possibility of a UO Classic shard, and whereupon he responded that it's all on the table. And from his expression, it was very apparent that it's not a dismissed project. However, he went on to say that the main stumbling block was the fact that they could not get players to agree on what the hell exact rule set that they were seeking in the first place. Pre-AOS, pre-UOR, published 16, so forth and so on. And then he went on to state that Siege, that if they were going to do such a project, that Siege needed to be addressed first, and to fine-tune it there, take off some of the crap that's, take off some of the additions that really are unnecessary on that shard, and start experimenting with, he commented, he said, if they want a hard shard, we'll give them a hard shard, which I found very interesting and hopeful.
Oh, I agree 100. When you said that over on the Siege Perilous Forum over on Stratix, I was like, yes, by all means, pay more attention to Siege. People want a harder shard. They want a more balanced shard. Then do this to Siege. Make us your guinea pigs. Don't go and spend all the money and resources on creating a whole new shard for somebody, for people who are wishing for it, who maybe never even logged in until after, Lord Blackthorn or whatever. I agree 100%. They need to pay more attention to Siege and make it a more challenging shard. Stop what I call the drip through, which is the stuff that comes down with each publish from the production shards into Siege, like the 7th anniversary items. I know Darth will agree with me on that one. Everything. We got the Siege uniforms. Everybody's got rabbit ears and duck feet on because they're blessed, and they get our resists up. In the meantime, Deadeye, you were next. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one little comment. We were talking about all this stuff about taking away the insurance and putting things back PvP-wise the way they were pre-real UOR and all that kind of stuff like that. So, people need to remember, I'm a 7-year vet, in case anybody didn't know something. I used to play back then and everything. And let's face it, half the fun of killing somebody was taking all their stuff and making them walk home naked, I had a death robe that I dyed black just so I wouldn't look so conspicuously. I just got PK'd when I walked back to town. I'd put it on. I carried it because it was a death robe and it wouldn't go away, So I remember those days, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
I remember, and I remember polishing up your bow key too.
Yeah, I tell you what, you just keep talking, Spider. That's fine. Just keep on. Yeah.
Joe Pam, you were next, and then Viceroy after that.
I think it was Darth that said it about the inflation in crafting. I've played on Siege. I've played on Mugen. I'm probably one of the only people that ping across the world. But if you seriously want to go back and think about the insurance and the crafting, and then you want to bring in the fact of the inflation, our crafters right now are basically useless. I think it was, published 16, AOS, one of them, wherever our vanquishing or our silver weapons became these new properties and everything. Back in those days, the vanquishing was the best one you could get. They were hard to find. And then, so whenever the transition came over, or the change, and we were given the new item properties, crafters went down the tube. Right now, the inflation, I can't go anywhere on any shard and find I can't find a normal barbed suit. It's, but I'm a crafting goof. I'm a tamer goof. I play multiple shards, and what do I know? Thank you.
No, you have a good point. But, log into your Siege character. I can show you a number of vendors who carry very nice barbed suits. But that's a good point. Go ahead, Viceroy.
Well, the whole argument about pre-UOR or pre-AOS and, in Siege, here's my assessment of the whole situation. This is what you have. Over here you have a group that want pre-UOR. Over here you have a group that wants, Siege to be the primary focus rather than pre-UOR. And then over here you have a group that wants pre-AOS. So, you have the people from Siege who are concerned that, if a pre-UOR does come out, all their work that they put into Siege will just diminish over time because a lot of people, this is how I perceive it. And a lot of people worry that, resources get taken away from Siege and applied to pre-UOR. But quite frankly, the way I see it is that, if you do bring out pre-UOR, it's just simply working out any bugs that arise and simply maintaining it. And the whole thing is about pre-UOR that I like so much is that there's a perfect balance between chaos and order. And what I mean by chaos, I'm not talking about the system. I'm talking about bad guys and good guys. There's no utopian society in this. There's no utopian ideology in this. It's all fair game. What goes, what goes. The only safety that you have is in town. And that's the kind of ideal I subscribe to. I don't subscribe to utopian ideals that you can somehow keep your items forever, or somehow your items never break. I just simply do not subscribe to that idea. That's not a game that I originally started out playing. That was not a game. That is not a game that I enjoy. I enjoyed the realism factor, and that's what we had back in pre-UOR. You had a perfect balance. People policed themselves. People had more control of the game than they do now. And now everything's pretty much restricted by item insurance. Thieves are nerfed. Tamers are nerfed. Really, if you think about it, tamers, they have no viable profession in selling their animals or anything anymore because we have ethereal mounts. Look at thieves. They can't go around stealing from players. All they can do is steal artifacts in a dungeon somewhere if they can get down in there. And there's just so many things that are just so screwed up because of this perfect ideology of a utopian society that brought us to the point where we're at now. And now we're so far in that it's like something's got to give or something's got to be done. And the way they can address the siege and pre-UR concern if they want to do that, so that way both sides are happy of that fence, because I know the people of siege are worried that it's going to affect them and what kind of attention they get later on. Set up a separate team that devotes their resources to both siege and pre-UR, and I guarantee you they'll be happy. Both sides. And then that way both sides can have what they want. The siege people and the pre-UR.
I kind of like that idea of the team thing. Or if there was a team that was dedicated specifically for siege and whatever other venture they went off on with the UO Renaissance or AOS or whatever shard, we would definitely get more attention over on siege if that was the case. Right now it's basically who's crying hardest on the UO hall that gets attention. And, of course, that's going to be the production shards because of their numbers. I don't want to take any more time because I know Dor has been dying to get in here. So go ahead, Dor.
I wanted to disagree with your assessment of players who wish to play on a UO Classic shard, and with Viceroy's opinion that Siege players would be horribly upset if such a thing were to come to fruition. To begin with, Siege is not a pre-UOR or pre-anything shard. It has Malice, it has the Tokeno Islands, it has items, it has instant corpses. What it is the best of what's left of the game, but still with layered undesirable additions. A classic shard would not be the same critter at all, and I can't imagine why anybody would be upset about the creation of one, because it's a different animal. They're not the same thing. Sure, fix siege, but even if you fix it, if you don't remove the additions that have been layered onto it over the years, it still won't be a pre-anything. It's just better because it doesn't have a Trammel rule set, but that's about it.
No, I agree with you, Dor. But you bear in mind, though, and you've been on Siege and Sonoma long enough to know that a lot of those things that you mentioned were not things that were asked for. Many Siege players, and Darth will agree with me, I'm sure, when I give him the mic next, like instant corpses and stuff like that, were not things that were asked for. They were drip downs from the production shards when they put publishes through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that what the Siege players would be upset about would be, instead of recreating the wheel, why not fix Siege into what the players who play Siege are, or the ex-players who used to play Siege and quit because it never got addressed, were taken out of the game again, taken out of the shard, because they should never have been introduced in the first place. Like I mentioned earlier, like the 7th anniversary tokens. This stuff is blessed. It shouldn't have been blessed in the first place. But it went through to all the publishers because, technically, for people who don't know this, Siege is considered a production shard. It gets the same publishes that everybody else gets. And then they go back and tweak it when enough people speak up. With that said, go ahead, Darth.
I just want to say I wouldn't have been upset if they built another shard with pre-UOR or pre-AOS or pre-whatever. I mean, that wouldn't have bothered me at all. And even having a character on Siege, I would have played it. I would have played it for sure. That I enjoy the birth of shards. When Origin came online, I actually placed 3 castles on Origin in the first couple days with me and my son. We had a blast there. And then we looked at it and we go, do we really want to spend our time here trying to get the arties and trying to compete here? I mean, is that really worth it? And we looked at each other and we go, nope, that's not worth it. So we sold everything off and moved off that shard. Now, I also want to say, I don't get this thing about Tamers being nerfed. My gosh, Tamers have been the most unnerved class. I'm sorry, in the game. They've got pet balls. They've got bonded pets, the biggest insurance game in the game right now. You know, they got, you know, they got pet reses now. I mean, my gosh. Taming has been so unnerved, and it's not funny. Tamers are the class that go into these dungeons with, you know, the 1,200 to 1,400 luck suits, or a couple other classes as well. But, you know, a warrior does not wear a 1,400 luck suit. There's no way he can afford having a 1,400 luck suit, fighting some of the tougher monsters, being toe-to-toe with them. That's not going to work. So Tamers are still a very important class, a very viable class, and in my opinion, one of the most unnerved classes in the game. I'll jump in again. Bye.
That's okay. No, I agree with you, Darth, with the Tamers, especially with the fact of the lag factor. You've got Tamers who can launch a pet on you. The pets are not lagged. You know, somebody on a 56K connection can launch a pet at you. That pet's going to come at you at server speed, not based on the players or the person behind the keyboard's connection speed. So those things come at you at 100 miles an hour. You may be lagged. Those things are still working on server speed. I think that should be balanced where they come at you, because I know you and I have spent a couple of times in Luna when you're sitting there and all of a sudden a pet's right next to you and whacking at you, and you're waiting there to hit your special move. There's a lot of stuff that can be done to Tamers. I'm not one to speak up about nerfing anything. I think they should. Nerfing, it's sort of like biting the serpent's tail. Every time you nerf something, it winds up buffing up something else. And I'm an anti-nerf person. So even though I owned a Nerf football when I was in 6th grade. Joe Pam, go ahead, and then I'll get to you, Dor.
Skip over me. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Go ahead, Dor.
I wanted to change the subject for just a bit and mention some other information that came out of the meetup, if that's okay.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Go ahead.
One of the things that I found pretty neat was when I asked Darkscribe about the event moderator program, because they've been in limbo now for months with their contracts on hiatus. He said that their contracts will be renewed in April for sure, so it's back on.
Oh, they flat out said the contracts are going to be renewed, right?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's wonderful. Dor and I are good friends with a particular EM, and support her 100%. I am fully support, and I've said that on my shows in the past, of the EM. I want live interaction with these event moderator events. I don't want an artificial intelligence dungeon thrown up as a replacement for the EMs. So for that, my heart just is like beating 100 times a minute right now, because I love EMs. and I want them to be a part of it, to come out and rally the troops, get the role playing going on, getting the shard into something and getting them excited about it. If they ever got rid of EM events, that would be something that I would go to UO Hall and say, man, I don't know if I want to play anymore. With that, bringing back Zero events, stuff like that. Joe Pam, are you still thinking about it?
Yeah, actually it came to me as soon as I said it, naturally. Who was it that said something about taming? Well, I actually got a few points here. But going back to the taming, I am your tamer addict. I, at least almost on every shard that I play, I have one tamer and a few others, but I can't, okay, back before we brought in the pet reses, how we spent hours upon hours training pets, and once they died, you couldn't get it back, so meaning you had to go back out, retame it, retrain it, and then hope that you somehow got this good pet, and I'm talking before the animal lore changes where you could see their stats and everything. You had like 4 different levels of seeing how it was. It was, this pet is what was it? It was, this pet was extremely intelligent or something of that nature, superior quality or something of whatever it was. It took hours upon hours of training. But going back to the EM events, on Drachenfels, I attended most of the events because they was in a normal time zone for me, and not really normal, but close enough. And our EM there was rather good. On Lake Superior, however, our EM, and I think there are going to be some people in the IRC that are going to be screaming at me in here in a minute, but Vladimir was our EM, was the head one, I believe, and he was never really around. He started the event for us, and then we were basically on our own while he took care of the other shards. But yeah, I'm done.
That's okay, Joanne. No, I agree with you about the EMs. They vary from shard to shard. I know on Sonoma, we would get an event, and Macera would come up, and she'd lead us through it, rally us through the entire event, and waving her sword around, or crook, or whatever whatever character she was on, and get everybody riled up and get them going. She would launch right into the battle with everybody, and and then of course on Siege we have Anissa, who she had an event once in a while, and it pretty much left everything, like you said, launched the event and then sat around and watched. It varies, and you know what, from an insider's point of view, having talked to different EMs and stuff like that in the past, they do work very hard to set them up. So some people are like with any job, they do their job, they're finished, and they say, okay, let's see how this rides out. Others, I'm going to sit through this until it's completed and see how it goes. That's all internal at EA. So with that said, go ahead, Viceroy. I know you've been waiting for a while too.
Sure thing. There's 2 things I want to point out. As for the nerfing of the taming professional, let me reiterate or elaborate on that a little bit. Whenever I said nerfed earlier and everything, what I meant by that was that, the community and the social aspect of tamers has been removed from the game. What do I mean by that? You can no longer go around and really make a good money selling your pets anymore. I don't see anybody selling their pets anymore. The only thing you might ever really see is the beetles or the fire beetles being sold anymore. Other than that, you don't see really too much black mares being sold or anything on a wide scale like it used to be. So the way I look at it is the whole social and community aspect of that has been removed from the game. Also, and and there used to be a market for selling animals. That's no longer the case. Also, I'm kind of wondering, what do they intend to do, EA, do about the things like the thieves? Are they going to continue to ignore them in hopes that they'll go away, or what? Or are they going to throw them a bone? Say, hey, it's time we give y'all a bone to where y'all can actually have a viable profession at stealing from other players in Palooka again. When are they going to address that issue? Also, last point I think we really need to bring up is Binky. Binky has left Electronic Arts. He's no longer with UO anymore. No longer with Electronic Arts, no longer with the UO team. So, I can honestly, personally say, I'm going to miss the guy because he was a very loud guy, a guy who was very passionate about the game. I mean, you could actually tell by looking at the tattoo on his arm. I mean, how many people go around tattooing a UO logo or in the Lake Austin logo on their body if they ain't passionate about the game? I'm kind of wondering if he also plays on Lake Austin. So, that's something to keep in mind. And I think we really need to talk about that a little bit. Has Binky, do you think things will be the same with Adam or what? I'm personally going to miss the guy. So, that's all I have to say.
I agree. Matter of fact, I'm going to go have my DJ Viceroy tattoo removed off my butt tomorrow is my appointment, I think. Darth, go ahead and give us your thoughts, and then we'll go on and we'll talk about Binky in a moment.
Actually, I'm going to miss Binky too. However, I do feel that Wilkie is also an excellent community manager, and I think he's going to be able to step in the shoes very well. And I will miss Binky a lot. I mean, I got to admit, Binky was unique and very fun to talk to, and a dynamic person. And I want to also say that him leaving UO actually kicked me in the butt, and I've actually am leaving UO myself. I'm currently in the process of giving away all my stuff. I'm not selling anything. I'm just giving it to my friends and my co-guildmates, and that's going to be it for me here very soon. Binky's leaving was just part of it. I could tell you some other reasons why I'm leaving, and one of them is that in the meetup, I couldn't believe they started off the PvP discussion with the client changes with, we're making some client changes. We're going to talk about PvP. Okay, we're going to make some client changes. We're going to give you an extended status bar. We're going to allow you to target a person. We're not sure how the person's going to highlight, but something new is going to happen. Then what else did they say? We're going to be able to put your debuffs on the status bar somewhere. All very nice changes, mind you, but hardly addressing the real PvP imbalances in the game. And I was just totally adamant against. I just couldn't believe they started off the PvP discussion with that. And that was one of the most disappointing parts of the game to me. And as for Tamers, I just want to add this. If they got rid of pet bonding, then Tamers would have a business, because then they would be able to sell. The problem is it just took too long to train your pets. If they allowed the pets to get trained a little bit faster, I think there would be an extremely dynamic market for pet tames and stuff. I think you would see an incredible difference in the game if you just got rid of, again, insurance. It comes down to insurance again. Pet bonding is a form of insurance. It's an insured weapon. It's a shame that they've made the game so easy for players that the simple things in the game are just missing. Farming for barred leather to make that set of armor, or farming for Valorite ingots to make your plate. Let's not even get into the fact that plate and leather, basically give you the same kind of properties almost. A little different, but basically they're the same power. That's just nuts. That's never been fixed. It was discussed after AOS quite a bit, and nothing was done. a lot of disappointments in the game, and the mass exodus of the team before with Hans, Furtbert, Speedman, LaRoche, or whatever that guy's name was, just totally, started kicking me in the side. I do believe, however, I want to say this in defense of this, the new producer in there has the most energy I've seen at that level of anybody I've seen there, including Lady Lou, including Sunsword. So I'm optimistic that things will change. And he says, I've only been in this job for a couple months. Give me a chance. I didn't give him a chance, and I feel sort of bad about that. But the time for me was it was time for me to move on. I've done everything in the game, and the idea of just chasing some other method to kill people was just not in my future. Didn't mean to drop a bomb on this, but I think I've written it in the boards already, so I think it's been known. So, and I do really want to stress, I really do think that the new producer has the energy and the team now. Also, I want to stress there were a lot of developers there. There were a lot of artists there, and things like that. So my decisions for leaving were almost more personal than game driven. So don't take that as whatever. But again, I sort of want to kick these guys in the butt a little bit and try to have them address the issues, not make some of these changes. This would be neat to do. Fix the game. The idea that mirror image bug took them since AOS to fix was wrong. That was dead wrong. They actually said they fixed it when published, and it wasn't fixed. What the heck was QA doing? Now, granted, this wasn't under this producer's watch, and so I want to stress, I really do feel that this producer is going to be more hands-on, more involved in the process, and I do see hope for the game. With that, one other thing I want to say about Door. The reason the EMs left, according to one of the people I talked to in the meetup, was the fact that the EMs are contractors, and contractors cannot have an ongoing job with a company for more than a certain period of time. And they said they had to give them a break, and the April thing is the first quarter of the next fiscal year or something like that. And so that was the reason why they've had a break, was to avoid legal issues with their contractor status versus an employer status. And so the legal issues are incredible in this game. The whole issue of the PvP tournament, I heard some stories about that too that were utterly fascinating. How the legal team gets involved in some of these things. It's amazing. Anyway, with that, I'll turn it over again.
Thanks, Darth. And on a personal note, I am sad to see you and your son leave, and I do hope you'll come back as an ex-guild member of yours, even if it was just briefly for a month or two. Anything you want to give to me from your cache of weapons and armor, I promise I'll hold for you, and I'll bless it each time.
I was trying not to say that. Oh, God!
No, seriously. I've fought with Darth and against him on many occasions, mostly against him, and lost miserably. But no, it's very sad to see him leave the game, especially him and his son Yoda, both on Siege. They've been long time villains on the game, and gave people reason to fight and chase them and that sort of thing, and they thrive it. And I'm going to miss you, and I hope you do come back. Got about 15 minutes left here, so I know Dora was next, and then I will give Amber the mic after that, and then we're going to switch over to another subject.
Switching subjects right now, as a matter of fact. I wanted to bring up the community aspect, which was another nice surprise while I was there. After speaking with some of the GMs and Wilkie, mainly those and Wilkie, and a little bit with Darkscribe. It was mentioned that by Wilkie in particular that they are going to try adding more community support, more of an active presence for player-run events and so forth, which they were prevented from doing so before due to conflict of interest or whatever. But that they're choosing to supersede that now, and that they're going to be going forward with more interaction with the player base, which is pretty neat, I think.
I agree. I hope so. I hope that it's all interaction, because that's the way the events need to work. Amber, go ahead.
Yeah, Dora, my comment actually kind of follows the whole community aspect of it. There was some discussion about the marketing direction that EA Games was going to take UO, and one of the things they talked about was some rewards for players who actually introduce new players into the game. And I was really kind of excited about that, because honestly, I don't think if it weren't for the new guild, I would be playing. Because one of the nice things that I like, not everybody's into PvP. And one of the things I really like about the game is the whole community aspect. And, sometimes a new player, it's hard for them to get acquainted. And, I even had somebody who's been, playing for a while. So, you take a new player that doesn't know anybody, is learning the game from scratch. You almost need to have a mentor to kind of take you under wing and introduce you to people, let you know about the story nights, the fight nights, even UORadio, so on. Not everybody's going to get on the boards. And so I was kind of excited about the whole marketing aspect. They were talking about doing more online marketing, and I hope that they pursue more rewards for veterans who take new players under wing and kind of introduce them into the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. Viceroy, go ahead.
Yes, I'm kind of wondering if, because, as we found out Friday and everything, we found out that Binky was going to be no longer with the UO team or EA team. I'm kind of wondering, the people that actually went to UO Town Hall meeting, did they sense that he was leaving Electronic Arts or Ultima Online? Did they have any indication or any any signs that he might not be there tomorrow? Because, it was kind of like abrupt. It's like out of the blue, he's like, well, I'm leaving Electronic Arts, Ultima Online. So I'm kind of wondering, about that.
Yeah, I know Dor has some thoughts on that. She's made very clear. Go ahead, Dor. Let us know how you felt about that. What were your opinions on that?
He didn't mention a word. I didn't find out until my ride home with a GM friend of mine that he was actually leaving. He was apparently supposed to announce it, but chose not to, and then posted it the next day.
Yeah, that's the kind of the feeling I got from a lot of people I talked to. Darth, what are your thoughts about Binky leaving? Did you sense it when you were talking to him?
Actually, as it turns out, Yoda was talking to him, and he actually, it was sort of interesting, he actually heard a comment from him that struck him sort of odd. And the thing that he was saying is, I'm staying overnight cleaning out my closet. I'm going to put some stuff in the UO museum, and that's all he said. And we thought about it, and we go, what the heck is he talking about? That was a little strange. So something that comment was a little strange. So I think there were perhaps a little bit of hints out there, and maybe a little bit of whatever. It's amazing how much you have to listen to those guys and all the little tidbits of information that's underneath the breath. I also want to say that the producer says this fall he senses that there's going to be a big announcement. The next big thing in UO is going to be announced this fall. So there is something afoot. All those new graphics artists has got me extremely interested in the new direction of the game, and perhaps I will be back.
I hope you do. I really do. I know, God, you and I have not directly had words, but indirectly, and we've fought many times, and most me losing, which is to be expected. I'm such a terrible PvPer, but I enjoy it so much, which is what makes all the difference in the world. Autumno, Jopam, and Amber, let me get your comments real quick, and if you guys can keep them brief, I'd appreciate it. I'm not going to limit you, but if you could, because we have a couple of announcements we need to make, as we only have 10 minutes left. So, starting off with Jopam, go ahead.
Just what Doris said about the player community. I know on Lake Superior, through doing the news and everything, during each news segment, we say Lake Superior at least once or twice during that news segment. And I was just told that there's a guild on Lake Superior that takes in new players, and we show them around. They do. It's called the United Community Center, I think. I don't know. But all of their events start from the Scarebrae Community Center, and they take in new players, older players, anyone who just wants to go out and hunt. They'll take them in, and they'll take you out every day, and there's some event going on.
I think that's on every shard. Autumno, go ahead.
Just advise against or not against, but for the macroers, I talked to several Q&A guys and producers, a producer, and they had something planned, but they would not tell anybody what they were going to do. But whatever it is going to be probably soon about anybody who macros using EasyUO, etc. Just put that out there.
That's good to know, absolutely. And that's something we might need to discuss on next week's show, actually. Amber, go ahead.
I was just going to respond to the question about Binky. I would never want to play poker with that guy. We talked to him quite a bit about, houseboats and the dungeon development and some of the turnout at the dungeons, and there was just no clue. I mean, I really got the impression he was going to be there. The only thing he did say that kind of, we kind of reflected on was we asked a question, that we were having some problems on Stratix, and he referred us to Wilkie, but again, I didn't see any sign that Binky was going to be leaving. I was really shocked.
Yeah, so was a lot of people that I had spoken to as well after the meetup. Yeah, we've got a few announcements to finish off the show with. Before I say goodbye to all my guests and let them say their last few words, and I know Viceroy has some things to say as well. Let me get mine out of the way. It'll only take a couple of minutes. For those who are not aware of it, those who deal with Cybernickel, who's a broker, is a cross-shard broker, just like Viceroy is, he's doing a customer appreciation thing. Where he's holding an event, and he's holding on his home shard of Siege, of course, so if you don't have a Siege character, create one. It's not going to require that you be uber equipped or anything like that, which is ironic, considering our conversations today. But the prizes are going to be unbelievable, and everybody is capable of getting one. The grand prize, of course, is the gloves of Inquisitor, or Inquisitor's gloves, which is worth $20 million on Siege, $40 million on the production charts, a 7th anniversary token, 2 8th anniversary tokens, a Soulstone token, 4 Soulstone fragment tokens, 2 30-day codes, 25 K worth of Mage Reges, 10K worth of Necro Reges, 1,000 Transfurcation powders, and then for the crafters out there, 100K worth of boards and 100K worth of Ignits. And all you have to do is show up at one of the clues, 1 out of 7 clues. And on Friday night at 9 p.m., I'm going to have DJ Strife announce the first clue over the air on UORadio. That is the first place it's going to be given, so you have to tune in to UORadio to hear the clue if you want the edge to get to the first clue. So, if you want more information on that, go to UO Hall. There's Cybernickel has all the details, all the rules, everything. Create a character on Siege, go over and do it. It's not a recruitment for Siege. It's just go over there and get your stuff, because being a broker, he or Viceroy can broker that stuff back over to your production chart, at least gold equivalents. and get involved. He wants to give back to the players. That was my announcement. Viceroy, you have a couple too, don't you?
Yep, I actually have two big announcements here. One is that we're going to be doing a live broadcast over here in Chesapeake, over on the Chesapeake Shard today, in about an hour from now. And we're going to be doing a coverage over with the Olympic Hall / Stratix Center on Chesapeake. If you'd like to come over here and join us, you can do so by going to Takuno from the Makoto Jima Gate in Sino, and the building is just south. And then you go then east about 2 city blocks, and then it's at the T intersection in the road to the east. I guess that's from the Moon Gate. So if you'd like to come over there and be a part of this live broadcast, in which we're going to be watching and doing a coverage over the closing ceremonies, then be sure to come over that way, because that was something we're going to be doing. And also, starting, I think tomorrow, let me have a look at this little notes here. Tomorrow, I think we're going to be start doing our little qualifications for your free 30-day game time code, or I think 3 million gold of your choice. So you could choose, basically what we're going to be doing is at random, we're going to be giving DJs at random an opportunity to qualify somebody, at any given moment during any of the DJ shows every day. You have 2 qualifiers per day. And if you qualify, you get a chance to enter in a drawing for a chance to win 30 days or 3 million gold. And I think we're going to be doing the drawings on Sundays or something like that, Saturday or Sunday. And so you have a chance of winning 30 days of free game time code or 3 million gold. And if you want it on Siege, it'll be, of course, 1.5 million gold. But, this gives everybody a chance. Even if you don't play Ultima Online, maybe you're looking to get back into Ultima Online, you just don't have the money, or you just don't want to really spend the money to play for a game that, you may not be too highly interested in, but you still want to check it out. This is your chance. All you have to do is be tuned in, wait for the queue, and I think it's going to be like the 3rd or 5th person that messages the DJ that says you may now message the DJ to enter or qualify for this contest. And this is going to be going on for the next 4 weeks, and everybody has a chance to qualify. So, basically 30-day game time code or 3 million gold given out once a week for the next 4 weeks. So be sure to check that out. So more details is up on the website at UORadio.com. UORadio gives away millions. Read that.
Thanks, Viceroy. Yeah, no, those are our announcements. Let me go ahead and let everybody have a chance to say goodbye, and then I think we're done for the week. And we hope you guys will tune in next week as well. Remember, Saturdays are always at this time, 5 to 7 Eastern Standard Time, are the guild interviews. If you're interested in having your guild interviewed by me, send me an email at spiderbite@uoradio.com. That's SPYDERBITE. Or send me a PM on the UO Radio forums, and just give me the basic information: your GM's name, his ICQ, the name of the guild abbreviation, and what you guys do on your shard. On Sundays now are our talk shows, like you've just had the pleasure of experiencing. And going forward, it will always be in that manner. We're going to do Saturday guild chats, and Sundays are going to be a talk show. So with that said, Deadeye, go ahead and say your goodbyes and say hello to everybody.
All right, this is DJ Deadeye. I want to be sure to thank all of you for joining us today for the talk show here at Euro Radio, and be sure to tune in again next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, folks.
Go ahead, Vice. Go ahead and say your goodbyes as well.
Yep, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and it was a pleasure, hopefully. I also want to point out real quick that if you'd like to submit a topic for us to talk about on the talk show, something that you feel that should be discussed, you can go over to our forums on UORadio.com and just simply drop in a little topic note. And if it's something that we can get around to, or something we know about, or whatever, hell, we may even bring you on to talk about it. So, if you'd like to have something discussed that you feel that needs to be discussed, be sure to go over there. Drop a little note in there so we have ideas as to what you guys want to hear on the radio during the talk show and stuff like that. So, thanks again for tuning in, and we hope to see you next week, same bat channel, bat time, as Deadeye said.
Absolutely. Yes, we would love to have you guys in here. If you have something you want to talk about or you're passionate about and you want to talk about it, definitely post a note over on the forums, and we'll bring you in there. It doesn't take a whole lot. All you got to do is have TeamSpeak. And if it's something worth talking about, absolutely, we'll have you in here, and we'll talk to you about it. Amber, go ahead and introduce yourself or say goodbye.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to participate in the panel. I've really enjoyed it. Both me and Sandman have enjoyed it. If you see me on Siege, I'm probably lost. And Sandman would like to say goodbye too. Hold on.
Now remember, what is yours is actually mine. Do not forget that.
Good. That's like my philosophy. What's mine is mine, is what's yours is mine. It was great having you guys on. And Amber, I adore having you on Siege because, being a brand new UO player and a brand new Siege player, it's like a double whammy. I'm adoring it, especially being a new supporter that I am. I'm really having a blast with that. Darth, for me, it's a bittersweet one for you, and I hope you do come back. But go ahead and give us your goodbye.
Okay. I just want to say UO is one great community. The community is what makes the game great. And if it wasn't for the community, I never would have stuck around for this long. The people were great, both friends and enemies alike. It's fun having enemies. It's fun having friends. And I never really took anything too personally. And it was amazing. I've seen enemies turn friends, turn enemies, and vice versa. And I just wish some of our players, maybe perhaps a little bit younger players, would just get off the insults and just deal with having fun. It's amazing to me how it's just fun playing the game. And I will miss the community, even the bad ones. And there are a few. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, like I said to your son when he posted on Stratix, whether you were liked or hated, you're still part of the community. At least that's my opinion of you guys. And you'll be welcome back. And I hope it's soon, because most people, they don't leave. They just take a break. Dora, go ahead and say your goodbyes to everybody.
Request to everyone to support your local community by participating in events, particularly player-run events. Do it. It's fun.
Absolutely. 100% behind you. You know that. Joe Pam.
If you have anything that you want aired on UO Radio, send it to news@uoradio.com. Back to you, Spud, right?
TD.
Yeah, well, I just want to leave everybody with some advice. If you're not having fun, it's not a game anymore. You've probably been sitting in front of the damn computer too long anyway. Go outside.
100% behind you on that one, too. That is too true. There have been times where the dogs look at me funny because I'm pounding my head against the computer screen, and it's like, okay, time to grab the bike, put the leash on the dog, and take him for a walk. And when I come back, I'm feeling a lot better. So you're 100% correct on that one. If you're getting too upset about the game, it's not a game anymore. It's a lifestyle, and you don't want that. But Tumno, let's hear what you have to say, buddy.
All right, goodbye all. Plan on going to the next town hall meeting in EA headquarters. I have not too much else to say because I didn't have much thought process going on with some of the questions going on. But, goodbye and support your UO Radio.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to meeting you there next time. And Dor, too. Dor and I have talked about meeting in person a number of times, but I've never made it because of real-life stuff. But I'm looking forward to it, and I hope Darth and Yoda will actually show up, even if they're not playing, because I've looked forward to that, too. In the meantime, let me go ahead and pass it off to my co-host here, Viceroy.
Yep, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in, and we're going to go ahead and point out that, you know, we're going to be giving out voodoo dolls later on for to get back at Spider Bite's boss for making him not be able to make it. But, you know, once again, thank you for tuning in to, I think, which episode we on? 28, 29?
28.
28. And so with that said, thank you for tuning in to episode number 28 on March 5th, 2006, and we'll see you next week. Once again, take care.